So I'm sitting here today with none other than Vera Milan Gervais. And I've known Vera for almost 15 years or 12, 11 years, I think now. Um, and Vera is not only an inspiring woman, she has written books, she has empowered herself to move beyond what I would say is, when you have your second breath of doing something else in life and then you're embracing it. But she also had an extreme, or I should say, an immense journey in marketing in Toronto and in big firms, and she learned from the best in that field. And then she came to New Brunswick and launched this multi-million dollar, which would become a multi-million dollar company called Health Connect that would work with pharmaceutical, a very regulated industry, but it did super well, her and her husband Marcel. So today, like I can tell you, Vera and I can go on forever. So, and we kind of go squirrels sometimes. So I'm just warning people. But I will say that Vera and her husband just exited, and we're going to talk about her next step. But before jumping into her next step, we're going to talk about where she started in business, in maybe give us a little bit of background into Vancouver, Alberta, and all of this. So, Vera, thank you for joining us today.
You want your whole 15 minutes to be my background?
Oh, that's the problem when you're like, super. Do you know there's nobody like Vera? I've never met anybody that has so much on the go than you. Like none.
I couldn't sit still. Neither of us could sit still. Let me give you a really quick Coles Notes. I math and physics, started doing a commerce degree, articled for an accounting degree, decided I didn't want to do that, studied communication arts. Because of that, I got hired by an ad agency in Vancouver, excuse me, which, as you said, took me from Calgary to Vancouver. They transferred me to Toronto. I worked for Ogilvy and Mather, Doyle Dane. So I worked for a number of big agencies, got hired as Director of Client Services for Medicus Intercon, which at the time was the largest medical advertising agency in Canada. Through Medicus, met Marcel, my husband, because he was a medical publisher servicing the industry and our agency. And when Marcel and I got married, just as a strange little connection that Natasha and I had been to Japan. And when Marcel and I got married, because we courted over sushi, I was actually married in a Japanese kimono that I bought when I was in Japan. So yeah, a very, very unusual trek to get to working for an advertising agency in Toronto. And then Marcel and I got pregnant, and I left and started to become a consultant. We, through a weird sense of circumstances, both Marcel and I ended up with our companies running into financial difficulties 2 weeks apart. So we decided, what the hell, start a business. So on a Friday night, we brainstormed a name. On a Saturday, we went and got business cards printed up. On the following Monday, we went to an industry event and said, hey guys, we're starting a business. And 2 weeks later, we had 3 clients.
That's amazing.
But you know what? It's like people hear that and go, yay. And I'm going, yeah, but you got to realize we both worked in the industry. We both proven ourselves in the industry. We knew clients. We had credibility. And our first business plan, actually, because our first 3 clients all began with an S, our first business plan said we were going to grow the business by getting out of the S's. So
The beauty of it is that you still have like 25 other letters to type.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you did that in a way, and I still remember that directory that you have
Yeah.
that you created at Health Connect, right? And that reminds me of that alphabet that you went to go through, right?
Yeah.
So
No,
how did you? Yeah, go ahead,
yeah, and the reason we came to Moncton, interestingly enough, is partially because, so this is a really interesting one. So Marcel and I came to Moncton in 1995. 100% of our clients were in Ontario and Quebec. So we pioneered remote working long before remote working was even, conceived of. And as I was saying to a young fellow the other day that I met at your event, Natasha, and I said, we didn't even have email then. We were using faxes. And I'm not even sure he knew what a fax was. So that was really pioneering remote working. But we came here partially because of the lifestyle and partially because I think I froze. Oh, there we go. We came here partially because of the lifestyle and partially because Marcel's background is French and he wanted the kids to grow up bilingual. And so when we moved here, we still had 100% of our clientele in Ontario and Quebec. And we literally would get on a plane to service them because, yeah, we didn't have email and internet to service them to the same degree as now. So we trailblazed a lot. We broke a lot of rules. But we had each other and we had each other to support each other through the rough parts of the business because there's always rough parts when you're growing a business.
And for those who believe that, couples can't work together, I think that Marcel and Vera are the proof that not only you can build a company and work together, but you can thrive together. They had this beautiful, huge office, and they shared an office, and and they traveled on every continent. Am I
Yep.
saying? Yeah. Okay. Just
On
double
all
checking.
7 continents with the kids.
With the kids, right? And do you want to talk a bit about why you started, like in the sense that you were saying that yes, we want a business, but we also want a business that empower us to do what we want.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it is that we could have gone and gotten jobs somewhere else, but we had kind of said, we really believe in helping other people and doing what's right. And one of the things when you own your own business, you have the ability to do is to say no and to choose your clientele and to choose your projects. Now, that isn't as easy as it sounds because sometimes you're financially at a point where you kind of compromise a little bit, and we won't go there, but that's part of it. But part of it was we had a 2-year-old at the time, and then a week after we decided to start the business, we found out we were pregnant with our second one. But we both wanted family to be part of the business. We'd seen people destroy their lives trying to build a business, and we didn't want that. And so when we moved to New Brunswick, one of the things we told our kids is, look, you're going to either mom or dad is going to be gone a lot because we're flying back and servicing our clients. You're going to be one parented a lot, but we're going to get some air miles points and some aeroplan points, and those are going to go to travel with you guys. And that was our promise to our kids, is that we would have that one-on-one time with them. And that's really important because for us, the family aspect of it, the personal aspect of it, if you don't keep those top of mind, the business will eat you up.
Yeah.
You have to. I mean, when you talked about working in the same office, it's part of it, part of what made it successful. And I think, and I will say this to anyone who says, do you want to work with your partner? You cannot work for your partner.
Yeah.
You have to work with your partner. You have to be equal partners. You have to say, this is my little area of expertise, this is yours. And you have to decide in advance who's going to make decisions in certain areas. Like if it came to finance, Marcel made decision. He's so much better. Despite the fact that I was an accountant, he's so much better with numbers than I am. If it came to decor, I know that sounds silly, but if it came to decor or aesthetics or anything, that's where I'm strong. Or even marketing, what's going to work, what's not going to work. So you pick your paths and you pick your strengths and you work to your strengths. And then you do argue with one another. You need to argue with one another. That's how you come up with the best bets. You don't walk away. And I know for some staff, it was like, oh my God, they're arguing what's going on. But it was never personal. It was always about coming for what's the best. And I think for us, and it wouldn't be the same for everybody, but for us, it was always, what can we do to improve what we're doing?
Yeah.
And that's
You were focused on the business, on the greater good of the clients, and I think it's when you decentralize it from yourself that you're able to really focus on what's important, and that's not you. When you're in a business, it's not you; it's your clients, right?
Yeah. And I think that's really important because so often what you see when people start a business, there's so much ego involved. It's like, what are people going to think about me? And does this make me look good? And how much money am I going to make? And am I the comparison thing? Like comparison is a thief, right? And we've heard that one. But comparison means you're judging. And as soon as you start judging someone else, you're judging yourself too. And that's limiting. So it really, really comes down to if you can keep yourself centered on what feels right for you, that body alignment, that mental and emotional and physical and spiritual alignment, then the decisions that you make are based more on what's right for the business, as well as making sure that you're within those parameters and those boundaries you set for yourself.
How many years have you given to Health Connect?
Marcel and I were in business. The company had various names along the way. I think we had 5 businesses total. 33 years.
33 years. And you just exited last
about 2
year?
years ago now. About 2 years ago now. Yeah.
Geez, that flies.
Yeah. I know.
And I want to talk about this because I think it's important that when you're in business sometimes you have your heart going somewhere else, but you are so much in what you're doing that it's difficult for you to let go of what you have and to jump in what you could have, could be, could do. And do you want to talk about a little bit about this and how you
Identity.
went beyond? Yeah.
Identity, because so much, it's funny because the work I do now is about identity, and maybe some of this is partly came from there, because when you ask somebody how they introduce themselves, it's like, well, I'm so-and-so's wife, so-and-so's neighbor, so-and-so's mother, father, whatever. It's in a relationship to someone or with what you do. And so if you lose what you do, whether you lose your job or you sell your business or, excuse me, even if you change your relationship status, you're losing a part of your identity with that. And what people need to realize, and that's a harsh way to say it, but what really frees you is when you realize that your identity isn't fixed. So one of the things that I like to say is that what happens when you lose something and you go searching for it, right? When you find it, you stop looking. So if I say I have to find myself,
Yes.
if I find myself, I may as well be dead because I'm going to stop looking. So what happens if instead of doing that, you say, okay, who can I be next? Who can I become next? What have I got the potential for? And for me, for Marcel, when we exited the business, it's like he's heavily involved with Rotary, and he's district governor this year. He's traveling all over visiting these clubs. He's in his glory. Plus, he's partner in the new pharmacy that we have, the compounding pharmacy we have. And I wrote my book, and I started speaking and doing workshops, and it changed our dynamic. We're going like, holy cow, we're not working in the same office. We're not looking on the same things. Like, what's going on? And that was cool too, because it was like we rediscovered parts of each other we didn't know. If we had been set in the milestones of like, we have to be the same people we always were, and we have to do the same things we always did, we would have denied ourselves so much excitement of the new things that we're developing and the new people that we're meeting right now. It's like an entire new phase of life that's like got so much going for it. But you have to be open to it. You have to say, okay, like, I am not fixed. I am not one thing. I'm not content to be one thing. So where can we go? Like curiosity drive.
I love that. I'm actually being the keynote for the banquet here in Moncton, and I was preparing my speech, and my son just went and said, "Mom, make sure you add curiosity in your speech." And I was like, "Okay."
Good for him.
Yeah. Talk to us about Wordz We Wear. It's a conference. It's a workshop. Where should we use, like, because there are words we wear.
Yeah.
So how can we better understand the words that we wear?
So the concept of Wordz We Wear comes down. I mean, the book is about identity and limiting beliefs, but that sounds harsh. We don't want to do any more work than we have to do. And we've been told mindset and everything till, out of the yin yang, and some of it sinks in, some of it doesn't. what I wanted to do, because I'm left brain, right brain, is simplify the whole concept of limiting beliefs into something we could understand and act on immediately. So the idea is that words are labels, and just like the clothing labels we wear, we know how clothing affects how we feel and how we show up. So if that's true for clothing, why not for words? We've got more word labels in our wardrobe than we do clothes. And so if you think about how you feel when you're introduced certain ways, or when you talk about yourself certain ways. So you think about it. I was brought up being told I was clumsy. I have a leg length difference. So of course I tripped a lot. I was told I was clumsy. The brain believes what it's told over and over again. So I was told I was clumsy. I was always going to fall. And then somebody said to me, "You'll never be a dancer." Well, the rebel in me wanted to dance, and I started dancing and discovered I loved it. And it's about balance. It's not about being clumsy. It's about balance and learning balance. So when you attach words to an identity and they're limiting words, they limit you. If I change the word and I attach something to its positive, it frees me. So an easy example is like, I'm an introvert. And I'll admit, when I was younger, I used that as an excuse. Oh, I'm an introvert. I don't want to meet new people. I don't want to do sales. I don't want to do this, right? And one time I came back from a vacation, a long weekend, and I was telling my friends about camping in the mountains because I'm an avid outdoors person. And my boss goes, "You saying you were tenting in the mountains on the weekend?" I said, "Yes, it was so much fun." And he's like, "If you can camp in the mountains in a tent in the winter, I think you can bring a little bit more of a sense of adventure to work."
That's interesting.
Very interesting. And then he said, "If you don't make choices for yourself, people make choices for you." And so for me, it was like, okay, this is opening my eyes to the fact that I am holding myself back. Yes, I'm an introvert. I don't like to be around people all the time, but I do have this sense of adventure and this sense of curiosity. So when I started saying I'm an adventurous introvert, that allows me to say, yes, I can make a speech and do a workshop, and then I have to collapse. I have to go find some energy somewhere else. I can't just sit around and talk to people afterwards. But I can go out and do this speech, and I can conduct a workshop, and I can write a book, and I can do a TEDx, because I have that sense of adventure that's added to who I am. Not changing who I am, but adding to who I am. It's like adding jewelry to your outfit, or adding a scarf or color or red lipstick, anything that helps you feel brighter and be brighter and feel better is going to help you to show up differently.
I love the fact that you talk like you cannot talk about Vera without talking about earrings. So tell me about earrings.
I didn't say earrings, did I?
No, but I know. I just know.
I will. My speech intro says something about the fact that I have jumped out of a helicopter, I have come face to face with a python, and I own 100 pairs of earrings. And I say, nobody ever asks me about the helicopter, the python. They always ask me about the earrings.
It's probably because you have the biggest, you only have one story about the python and the helicopter, but you have 100 stories about the earrings, right? So,
Because I know the story behind every pair of earrings that I have 100 pairs of earrings, yes, because I associate them with identity. Because I know where I got them all. I know the feelings I had when I got them. I know the feelings I feel when I put them on. So typically, if I want to feel in a certain way or show up in a certain way, then I will choose the earrings that will help me. And these ones, interestingly enough, I bought at the farmers market in Shediac one summer a few years ago from one of the newcomers that was here. And the reason I wore them for this event, this live event, is that she epitomized, that sense of adventure and that sense of entrepreneurship of being able to do something. Like here she was a newcomer. She was taking the skill that she had. She was creating jewelry and she was selling them. And so that's just such a perfect way to talk about what we're capable of when we believe in what we're doing in ourselves and when we work with our own strengths and talents.
after 40 years in business, would you say that you're stepping into your next step, like your second breath? What are you like? are you transitioning? Are you like what's the change for you to bloom into Wordz We Wear? Where did that come from, and how did you get started?
I would call it an evolution, and maybe even inevitable, because Words We Wear is actually the culmination of all the years of watching people not live up to their potential, not believe in themselves, not being willing to, willing's the wrong word, not knowing that they have the ability to do more, not giving themselves permission to do more and be more. And so I remember a girlfriend saying to me once, she said, we usually don't change something until we're forced to or we're frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And in my case, I think it was frustration, like watching so many people I know have so much potential and not being able to achieve what they're capable of. And rather than wanting to lecture people, I wanted to just sort of persuade people that they have the ability. And again, the left brain, right
Which
brain.
comes from your own story, right?
Yeah, which
Like,
comes from my own
yeah,
story.
yeah,
Because for those who don't know me, I grew up with a physical handicap. And I mean, I've had 7 major surgeries, 4 of them before I turned 18. So I've had to learn to persevere and to believe in myself and to do things in ways that maybe I never should have been able to, but I did anyway. And so because I had to fight for what I achieved, I knew most people didn't want to have to fight, but somehow I'm going to back up a bit and say sometimes it's when you reach that struggle that you're forced into a change, but I don't think we should always have to be forced. I think that we should be able to choose to make a
I
change,
agree.
to evolve, and to become. And that's what this is about, because I'll say to a woman, and that's why clothing is so perfect. I say to her, how do you feel when you wear high heels? How do you feel when you wear a black sexy dress? How do you feel when you wear red or purple, whatever your power color is? And they know innately. Men do too. I've got men that say, oh yeah. I mean, my husband, he changes the color of his shoelaces in his shoes when he goes out to match his shirt. He knows the power of shoes, right? And when we do that, when we tap into that body connection and that body energy that we get from dressing well or wearing a nice pair of earrings or changing the way we talk about ourselves, that changes our energy, that changes what we believe, that changes how we show up, that changes our choices and our actions, behaviors, and choices are the ABCs of identity. So that changes who we become. And we don't have to stop becoming. Every time we reach a level, we realize we can do more. And then it's like climbing that mountain. You're going to go, okay, well, I'm just going to climb this to this knoll. And then oh, you know what? I can make the next one. You know what? That was fun. And maybe I can't do it today, but I'm going to come back and do that one next. And as we evolve and we learn and we pass on that knowledge, then we realize that we still have capability and growth to go. And that maybe that's worth sharing too. And it was Philip McKernan from Brave Soul, Brave Mind. He's got his castle in Ireland now. I remember him being at one of his sessions, and I was saying, well, I don't know if I really want to take my book to the stage or anything like that, Philip. And he says, how can you be so fucking selfish, Vera, not to share your gift with the world? It's like, oh, but he's right. We're being selfish if we hold back what we learned and what we know and don't help other people in the process.
That would be the final question, but how can this method support entrepreneurs, support their employee, you know, better understand, help them grow, empower leadership? How can Words We Wear support our industry, well, entrepreneurship and employees?
I think from an employee point of view and even from a leader point of view, one of the things I like to talk about is leadership within. So instead of saying, let's develop, for instance, women in leadership roles into traditional leadership roles, let's develop the innate leadership skills we have. So name your leadership skills, own your leadership skills. And part of it is if I say to myself, I'm a writer, I'm limiting myself. I say to myself, I'm an author, I'm taking myself to the next step. If I say to myself, I'm a project manager versus a project coordinator versus a project manager, I'm going to stay in that coordination role. You might have the title project coordinator, but if you are going to want to evolve into the next level, you have to see yourself in the next level. And so that's where the adjectives come in. So you might be able to say, like, if you've got an employee that's you believe has got a lot more potential, tell them that. Tell them what you see for them. Give them the ability to see themselves with that new definition. And that's what it comes down to. It's like, if I was to say to you, Natasha, what are you doing? Like, are you trying to do little videos or are you a podcaster? Podcaster's got a lot more power than I'm just going to do a few little videos here and there.
Yeah.
And so when you see yourself in that,
Now I have to change my thing.
but when you see yourself in that role, when you attach that identity, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing you got to do, girl, is you got to say, I'm a number one. Because that changes the way you show up too.
Yeah.
It really
How do
is.
you manage imposter syndrome and all of that?
So part of imposter syndrome in my mind is believing those little voices that are chattering in your head, right?
Yeah.
Kathy Sweet, who we know, told me when I was interviewing people for the book that confidence, she practices confidence. And so I've adopted that mantra.
That's amazing. All right, let's get to the nuggets.
Yeah, that confidence is a practice. And so in digging deeper into that, every time we do something, we are doing something that is worth celebrating, but we don't celebrate it. We don't see tiny little things like getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. Oh, well, everybody does that. Not everybody does that. But let's take that to another level. You show up for work every day and you write a blog every day. Do you celebrate that or say, no, it's something I have to do? If you don't celebrate something, if you don't tell your brain that you've achieved something, your brain doesn't know that you've achieved something.
Yeah, no reward.
No
There's no reward. Yeah.
There's no reward. And so if you do not know that you're achieving something, where's confidence going to come from? So when you do little things, like Kathy will talk about going and doing a difficult conversation that she doesn't have to do, so that when she does have to do it, she's prepared.
Yeah.
So when you decide to make a phone call you don't want to make, that you don't have to make, you could delegate to someone else, but you say, let me try that. I think I can do that. And you do that. All of a sudden, like, whoa, I did that. And your brain goes, yes, you can. And what else can you do? And so I think that we talk ourselves into imposter syndrome by saying, I'm not perfect, I'm not ready, other people can do it better. Yeah, but if you never try, you never will achieve.
Yeah. And you won't gain mastery in it.
Yeah. Yeah, mastery comes from practice, and confidence comes from practice. And practice comes from being willing to do something, to fail, to try, to... Yeah.
I never thought about it that way, but I do get it because I did a lot of training with Tony Robbins, and he always says, like, also you need to embed it in your body. You need to attribute a feeling to something that you do, because if there's no feeling, there's no memory, and if there's no memory, you can't tap back into it, right? So it's really
Why the earrings?
like earrings, yeah, like glasses, whatever it is, lipstick, whatever it is, right? If I were to want to hire you to come to my business and talk about this, how does it go? What do you deliver? What can I expect? What's yeah.
My favorite is I mean, I do talks, but I prefer workshops. And the reason I prefer workshops is because I love to be interactive. And I think in this day and age with attention spans the way they are, that interactivity works better for the audience anyway. So I will do workshops on the words we wear, and we can pick themes, words for wellness, words for success, words for leadership, because words take you down the path that you want to go. And there's a number of interactive exercises that I do so that the individuals get involved in it and typically walk away with feelings of who they are, who they can become, Usually my book can be part of the package so they can get that. I'm working on a workbook too to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, I love doing workshops with individuals. I've done them with the theater groups here in Moncton. I've done them with the Y, with ECEs. It's been great fun. I've done it with ad agencies. Yeah.
Um, how do people follow you? How did they connect with you?
The easiest way to connect with me is, well, my email is vera@veragervais.com. That's really easy to remember. My website is veragervais.com. And then I'm on LinkedIn with Vera Milan Gervais, and I have a Substack post as well. So, yeah, lots of ways to reach me. The website's
That's
got
wonderful.
everything. Yeah.
I want to thank you, Vera, because you've been a big part of my life. And not only that, I've seen you go from, this freaking kick-ass woman in business, and I know that when you made the transition to becoming a consultant and then becoming an author and becoming this new identity that you have today, and a TEDx speaker and you name it, it wasn't easy for you to let go of the past identity, the mother, the wife, the business owner, the leader in this big business, and going from, right, I'm just,
Yeah.
no, how you say that, I'm going airborne, it's just like no parachute, no nothing, I'm off. Um, and I want to congratulate you for taking that step, because you have bloomed in so many ways. And the person that I see today, and like, not that you were not kick-ass before, you were, but I feel that you have found center for yourself, and I admire that. And I want to say that you inspire a lot of us,
Thank you.
women and men and entrepreneurs, to step into our power and step into our words with a Z.
Yeah, with a Z. Yeah.
With a Z.
Thank you.
Thank you so much very much.